Giridharadhari Gopi Janavala Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Ram Hare Hare Jaya Radha Kala Chandri Radha Kala Chandri Radhe Jaya Radha Kala Chandri Radha Kala Chandri Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 7. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayadahautukam Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayadahautukam Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayadahautukam Cloak it. Chant. Vasudeve unto Krishna, Bhagavati unto the personality of Godhead, Bhakti Yogaha contact of devotional service, Prayojitaha being applied, Janayati does produce, Ashu very soon, Vairagyam detachment, Jnanam knowledge, Cha and, Yat that which, Ahautukam causeless. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Shilesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one automatically acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Purport. Those who consider devotional service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna to be something like material, emotional affairs may argue that in the revealed scriptures, sacrifice, charity, austerity, knowledge, mystic powers, and similar other processes of transcendental realization are recommended. According to them, bhakti, or the devotional service of the Lord, is meant for those who cannot perform the high-grade activities. Generally, it is said that the bhakti cult is meant for the Shudras, Vaishyas, and the less intelligent woman class. But that is not the actual fact. The bhakti cult is the topmost of all transcendental activities. Therefore, it is simultaneously sublime and easy. It is sublime for the pure devotees who are serious about getting in contact with the Supreme Lord, and it is easy for the neophytes who are just on the threshold of the house of bhakti. To achieve the contact of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is a great science, and it is open for all living beings, including the Shudras, Vaishyas, women, and even those lower than the low-born Shudras. So what to speak of the high-class men, like the qualified Brahmanas and the great self-realized kings? The other high-grade activities designated as sacrifice, charity, austerity, etc., are all corollary factors following the pure and scientific bhakti cult. The principles of knowledge and detachment are two important factors on the path of transcendental realization. The whole spiritual process leads to perfect knowledge of everything material and spiritual. And the results of such perfect knowledge are that one becomes detached from material affection and becomes attached to spiritual activities. Becoming detached from material things does not mean becoming inert altogether. As men with a poor fund of knowledge think, Naishkarma means not undertaking activities that will produce good or bad effects. Negation does not mean negation of the positive. Negation of the non-essentials does not mean negation of the essentials. Similarly, detachment from material forms does not mean nullifying the positive form. The bhakti cult is meant for realization of the positive form. When the positive form is realized, the negative forms are automatically eliminated. Therefore, with the development of the bhakti cult, with the application of positive service to the positive form, one naturally becomes detached from inferior things and he becomes attached to superior things. Similarly, the bhakti cult, being the supermost occupation of the living being, leads him out of material sense enjoyment. That is, that is the sign of a pure devotee. He is not a fool, nor is he engaged in the inferior energies, nor does he have material values. This is not possible by dry reasoning. It actually happens by the grace of the Almighty. In conclusion, one who is a pure devotee has all other good qualities, namely knowledge, detachment, etc. But one who has only knowledge or detachment is not necessarily well acquainted with the principles of the bhakti cult. Bhakti is the supermost occupation of the human being. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Brinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Does anybody remember the first point Prabhupada makes in the purport? You get the cordless mic? Or over by the sound system, you get one of these microphones. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I asked if anybody remembers the first point Prabhupada makes in the purport. Go ahead.
Okay, I know this was a point made in the purport. We'll find out if it was the first one. But I believe the first point he made was that many people believe that practitioners of bhakti, that bhakti is meant for those who aren't strong enough to do like gyan or high, and they consider gyan and other practices of yoga to be higher than the bhakti cult, which is like based on emotions, is what other people think.
Yeah, exactly. So usually when you make a statement, the first thing you make is like the theme, and the last point you make kind of sums it up, right? So that was the first point Prabhupada makes, is that that people may consider that bhakti is for those that are less spiritually elevated, and that other things are recommended. But then at the end of the purport, anybody remember the last last sentence of the purport? The last sentence, Prabhupada says, bhakti is the supermost occupation of the human being. So this is the intrinsic nature of who we are as a person, beyond even a human being. But first of all, we're not the body. We're not a man. We're not a woman. We're not Indian or American or young or old. But we're the conscious, spiritual, eternal servant of the Supreme Personality, the Supreme Person. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mame Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manashashtan Indriyani Prakritishtani Karshati, that every living entity is my eternal part and parcel. So materially, when we think of a part of something, that means we think, okay, it was whole, and then you divided it. So sometimes we think, we have this idea that, okay, well, we were created, from the whole, at a certain point. But no, we're eternally part and parcel. We're eternally connected through devotion. And that's the eternal function. It's like here, Prabhupada says, use the words, the supermost occupation. It's just like, what is, sometimes people like the word dharma. And then Prabhupada, people think, oh, this is my Hindu dharma. This is my jata dharma. What do they call that? The human dharma. They think that. But actually, Prabhupada says dharma is something that it's the intrinsic nature of something. He gave the example of sugar. What's the dharma of sugar? What's the dharma of salt? Yeah, exactly. So it's to be salty. You can't take that if you look at it. If you have sugar in one hand and salt in the other hand, it may look exactly the same, but it'll taste totally different, because the dharma, or the essence of its intrinsic nature, what it's made of, you'll be able to tell by tasting. So the intrinsic, or the natural energy of every conscious living entity, whether you're in a human form, an animal form, wherever there's life, wherever there's consciousness, that is the symptom of the soul. And the soul is eternally connected to Krishna through devotion. It's just, Prabhupada explains, it's just like the hand. What's the purpose of the hand, Govinda? To play with rubber bands right now. To serve the whole, right? The whole body. Like if the hand were to think, why should I take the food and put it in the mouth to nourish the whole body? So they give this example. I'm just going to push, the hand thinks I'm going to push the food into my skin, right? The hand rebels against the whole body. Then it doesn't get nourishment, and then the body doesn't get nourishment. So similarly, when we're in illusion, when we're thinking that we're separate from an eternal, intimate, devotional relationship with Krishna, then we wither away. We don't get nourished. But when we get knowledge, just like this verse is talking about, when we engage in devotional service, then natural awareness comes. Sometimes even we're not aware. We may not be aware that we're so knowledgeable. Sometimes the example I like to give is like you're in an airplane. You may be flying. Do you know, Bhagwan, Mishra Bhagwan, how fast an airplane generally goes by chance? Yeah. So a passenger plane goes about it's going 600 miles an hour. But when you're sitting there, you feel like you're just barely moving. I mean, you may look out the window, you're so far from the land that it doesn't feel that you're being propelled at such speed. So similarly, in the activities of Bhakti Yoga, we may not feel sometimes that we're traveling through the material cosmos and piercing through to the spiritual reality to touch Krishna's lotus feet, to contact Krishna through the different devotional activities. And the main devotional activity is to chant, to glorify the Supreme through congregational coming together, just like there's more strength in numbers, and to glorify Krishna by chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this devotional service gives us causeless in the sense that there was no, the real knowledge is causeless in the sense, what I pick up from that is that it's eternal. It's just like Prabhupada was once asked, check out this, Govinda. Prabhupada asked, somebody thought this guru, he's supposed to know everything, right? Gurus know everything. So let me say, how many windows are there in the Empire State Building? And Prabhupada answered, how many drops of water are there in a mirage? Right? A mirage is not real in a sense. You see water in a distance, you think because of, there is some water, but you see that, you think it's a lake, but it's not. It's an illusion. So Prabhupada's in that phrase was like, knowledge doesn't mean that you know every detail of the temporary changing material world. Real knowledge means to know, I'm not the body, but I'm the soul. And then knowledge gets deeper. Not only that, not only am I eternal, not only am I full of consciousness and full of bliss, Satchit Ananda, but I'm eternally connected to the supreme source of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, Kalachanji, Radha Kalachanji. And more than that, I'm connected in a devotional service relationship, right? There's always, just like they say, it takes, Prabhupada says there's knowledge, there's the object of knowledge, and one other thing I forgot. But the point I'm making is that in bhakti, there's the jiva, bhakta, bhakti, Bhagavan. And that's causeless in the sense there was never a time when where you and I did not exist, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be, right? That's Krishna saying that in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. So this is real knowledge, and it's causeless in the sense it's like it's eternal. So this theoretical knowledge, we have to get the idea first. If you want to go somewhere, you want to go on a trip, first you get theoretical knowledge. Say you want to fly to India first, and you've never been there. So you hear from others how to get there. You follow their advice, so you purchase a ticket. This is a cheaper ticket. Then you go and you do it, right? So that's theoretical knowledge. So the knowledge that we're not the body, but we're the soul. At first we may be told this, but then it may be theoretical. Then you engage in devotional activities, and it becomes realized more and more. And then detachment comes, right? First of all, when we think we're the body, then our experience of life is just thinking, okay, to meet the demands of the senses, that means satisfaction. If I'm somewhat comfortable, if I'm somewhat satisfied with a certain amount of food, that's the scope of my endeavors. But then every living entity feels a longing for something deeper, right? We see in life that so many people have gotten the perfection, so-called perfection of material life in being famous, having unlimited, having a certain amount of riches. They could get anything at any time. Let's say like the Beatles, for instance. I heard that one of the Beatles, when they reached such fame and got so much money, and at a certain phase they were like, okay, well, what's next? There's a longing. There's like they call it the God hole. There's something missing, and that thing missing is because that intrinsically we're spiritual beings, and we need spiritual nourishment. We need soul food. Just like it's explained that babies, like infants, they don't exist just by feeding. You can feed them just like formula food and whatnot. That's not, things from a can, things from a bottle. But what's nourishing on a deeper level is the affection from the mother and family members, that this is more nourishing. And actually, I saw this video that was talking about cholesterol, and it was saying that they did experiments on animals. They fed them the same foods that gives high cholesterol to rabbits or something. I forgot what kind of animal, but one animal they just fed the food, and the other animal they fed the food but also pet the animal and talked nicely and sent it good vibes, sent it affectionate energy. What's that? Monkeys, you say. Oh, you saw it also? So, thank you. So the ones that were given affection, they were equipped with energy that made certain chemicals in their body that made it so they didn't get the high cholesterol. So what I'm getting at is that we're not just material beings, and and we're not subtle material beings either. We're not the gross body, and we're not the subtle mind also, but we're the consciousness. And not just that, just Prabhupada says here in the purport that knowledge on its own is not sufficient. Detachment is not sufficient. But devotion is sufficient, because these other qualities, all the qualities of the soul, come when we express devotion. And the more mature it is, or the more realized it is, then the more qualitative and the more of the true nature of the spiritual experience comes through. So I think I'll stop here because I'm coughing too much. But anybody have anything they would like to share? There's a mic right there. People listen online. Can you help her turn it on?
Lately, I was always thinking that all the crimes in the world and all the problems we have, all the wars we're having, and people are lacking spiritual food. If they grow up with love and bhakti and devotion, I don't think we have all these problems in the world. Like you said that they were patting the monkeys, And a lot of people I see with their kids, they're not showing any love to their children. And that's how they grow up, and they become rough and angry. And that anger shows how they behave later on, like robbing and crime, and even the speeding on the highway. I was coming from California to Texas, and things you see you can't even imagine. They have no respect for safety. It all goes back to that lacking spiritual food. That the spirit is so dry and so rigid and lacking all that devotion. And when that happens, there's no God devotion either. I hear people say, God, God, oh, I love you, and gave me money, and they gave me whatever, materialistic stuff. But then they see on their face that the hearts are closed, the faces are like grim, and you don't feel any love coming from them. But anyways, back to the point, I was thinking that, hey, if they show love, devotion to children growing up, I don't think we have any of these.
True, true. Yeah, thank you. Beautiful example. Yeah, one of my mentors, he said that there's only two things going on in the world. You're either giving love or you're calling out for love. And those that are acting most in the negative attention, in the ways you were mentioning with intense anger, they're crying out for that love even more. So yeah, it's a big need. Yeah. The one time the guru of Srila Prabhupada was asked or said that the only thing lacking in the material world is Krishna consciousness. And Krishna consciousness means spiritual affection, spiritual attention, love, bhakti. Bhakti means loving devotional service. So it's a big mission of devotees to not only imbibe it more and more, but also to share. Yeah, Prabhupada's whole program was he came when he was 70 years old on a ship, a cargo ship, not even a passenger ship. Why? Because the love of his guru and the love of the whole line was saying, share this love, share this message of Krishna with the world. And so he did that, wrote all these books, opened all these temples, started restaurants, started schools, started farm communities, started the whole, instilled in his disciples that what I have given you, you give to others. The sharing, devotion. And then it's explained that Krishna is so pleased in the Bhagavad Gita, which I think it's tomorrow, right? The advent of the Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna spoke 5,000 years ago is tomorrow, astrologically. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, there'll never be one more dear to me than one who shares this knowledge with others. So when we share Krishna with others more and more, then Krishna is so pleased that he gives himself to us. And that's what's what's wanted. The soul is hungry for loving reciprocations. Specifically, the first relationship is the soul with the super soul. And when that's nourished in a deep way through loving devotional activities, then we have something to give, actually, of deep spiritual substance. Anybody else like to share? Prabhuji and then Mataji. Is it on? Oh, okay, we can use this one. Move it around.
Krishna says that he protects his devotees, knowing that they'll never perish. And we see in Krishna book, whenever demons attack devotees, Krishna kills the demons and protects the devotees, and none of the devotees get hurt. Nowadays in Bangladesh, so why doesn't Krishna protect the devotees now, like he used to back in Vrindavan?
Well, your example was of Krishna, the way he protected his devotees in the spiritual reality. When he protected the demon, the Gokul, when Krishna was here, is non-different from Goloka. So that is just super excellent spiritual domain in the material realm. Sometimes, well, in general, Prabhupada said there isn't, but then there's rumors of them. He asks if there's demons in the spiritual world. And if they are, they're devotional demons. But in the material reality, what I've heard it explained is that that Krishna protects the devotees' devotional mentality. That even though, like you mentioned, the devotees in Bangladesh are being victimized, that their devotional consciousness will never go in vain and it'll always increase. That on the material world, just like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that time I am the destroyer of all things, right? That goes for you, me, everybody in the material reality. Like, just because we're devotees, can we go in the water, go in the ocean and pray to Krishna, Krishna, please, may I not get wet? No matter how sincere your devotion is, Krishna's nature, he set it up in such a way that it just goes. I mean, maybe there are certain circumstances, very rare, but in general, nature goes according to Krishna's desires, and part of that is death. We're not saved from dying, no matter how devotional we are, how pure we are. But what Krishna saves us from is forgetting him or being overcome by Maya. We may be killed even, or we look in our movement, accidental deaths have happened to great devotees also. But the idea is that Krishna protects the faith of the devotee, and that devotee will go to a more beneficial, opportune experience for more service and more love, more intimacy.
I changed the batteries. I was thinking the same thing that Mishra Bhagwan Prabhu was saying about the situation in Bangladesh. Like it said, at the end of 10,000 years, Kali Yuga is going to kick on like full force after the golden age. So I was thinking, like, small realization that what we're seeing in Bangladesh is a small sample of what would happen. Like deities are being, the temples are being attacked, devotees are being attacked, and it's like a wake up call. I feel for myself that take Krishna consciousness more seriously, get our act together.
Protect your faith, but you're not the body. So two things can be true. We are in Kali and you're not the body. And even if you're killed, your maker will protect you because the soul cannot be hurt. Isn't this what Krishna taught? Like, it's just the body that they may hurt, or a building, And yes, there is power in the idol, but this is Kali.
Yeah, it's inconceivable on one sense, because even in Krishna's time, right after Krishna left, a lot of the deities had to be moved almost right away. Right, Govinda Dev had to leave Vrindavan because the Mughals, was it Mughals, or because there was some terrorists that came, so they heard about it, so they moved the Govinda deity to Jaipur. I think, so many stories are there of things that happened right after Krishna disappeared, to deities, to devotees. Madan Mohan. Even our Kalachandri.
Absolutely. I was having some problem. I have a very strong mind, and I'm always on the right path with bhakti, I would say. But something kind of, I felt, possessed me after this woman died of terrible death. But anyway, so I was praying. I'm not saying this religion is better than this one and this one is wrong. And they're all good there to make human being perfected, but people are getting into wars that my religion is number one. Your God is no God, and I'm number two, and whatever. I was praying to everything, and some group told me you have to fast and pray to Jesus. I love Jesus in my heart always, and nothing was happening. I'm not saying, I'm not comparing, but once I started listening to Bhagavad Gita, for 1 year I suffered terribly. I felt like I was being skinned while I'm being alive. And I started Bhagavad Gita and going to this ISKCON and eating that food and all that. The early food, the prasad. And I was going constantly to the temple and sitting for meditation and chanting. All of a sudden, I felt like a week later, I felt like I was a brand new person. I was a brand new mind. My mind was not getting these thoughts. I'm very sensitive. I get bombarded. I absorb everything from around me. When people think about me, I know that right away that something is going on. But anyways, I was saved, and I'm always so thankful that I went back to the Godhead. I went back to the Krishna consciousness. I shared with this Prabhu here this morning that I was coming to the temple, and it's a neighborhood. It's a residential neighborhood, so I was going like 25, 30 miles an hour. This guy from the left side, I'm not even aware, he comes and cut me off in front of me with this speed. But anyways, and I was like, he is in money mind. We are in God consciousness. Don't react. Because down the road, it was a stop at the red light, right there. The next red light, he was there. I was going to go after him and say, hey, you didn't get anywhere. You're running after money. You're not going to get anywhere. But then I said, let it go. Be with Krishna. You already saved me from the trouble. But when I'm saying when the faith faith is something like blind faith is not where conviction. When the conviction is here, there, you know that Shraddha, they call it Shraddha. When that conviction is there
But-
that He's going to be with me. He's there with you. I even pray to Him for little things. You won't believe it happens so fast.
Oh, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing.
I thank Him because I didn't know what to do. I couldn't go to the psychologist because they are not familiar with this kind of problem. This is like a spiritual attack, a psychic attack, they call it. But anyways, everybody, when they have some kind of trouble in their life, they should listen to Bhagavad Gita and get into this knowledge.
Thank you, thank you.
Seriously. Thank you.
Go ahead. Achyuta Govinda. Oh, Bhagavan.
I have one point. I was reflecting of what Mishra Bhagavan Prabhu was talking about as far as Bangladesh devotees being protected by Krishna, or why isn't Krishna intervening in one sense? There's this term Prabhupada says, Shango Pangastra Parshadam. So this is from a lecture. It's also stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita and various purports in Bhagavatam. He says, Krishna has his weapon, Sudarshan Chakra. Lord Ramachandra has his weapon, bow and arrow. What is the weapon of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Shango Pangastra Parshadam. His associates are his weapons. This is Astra. Because in the Kali Yuga they are so fallen, even they are demons. They are third class, fourth class demons. And then there's some laughter there. So they need not be killed. They are already killed. Their mode of life, their atmosphere, they are always dead. Just like we see so many demons. So what is there to kill them? They are already killed. They have no life. So this killing process in Kali Yuga is to kill their demonic propensities. And how to kill that demonic propensities? By spreading the Hare Krishna movement. This is Astra. Otherwise to kill them is not.
We don't kill them. We live them. We give, and we get. Krishna gives us that. We may even be dying, but we've been given the holy names. And at the time of death, if you chant, then you go to Krishna, or if Krishna desires.
Speaking on the same terms, this is the December Srila Prabhupada Marathon month. So, small advertising. We have a goal of distributing 6,000 Bhagavad Gitas this year for our Dallas temple. And worldwide, I think it's 4.2 million Bhagavad Gitas under the spacious guidance of His Holiness Vaisheshika Maharaj. So, we're requesting everyone, if you can help us. We are only at about 50 boxes, or around 1/4 the goal for Dallas. So please see Hemagauranga Prabhu or myself or any of the Sankirtan team if you want to help in any way. Either sponsoring books or even distributing books that are sponsored. Hare Krishna.
Tammy?
This is to change the subject here, but this morning we recited the 10 offenses in chanting the holy names, and then I went to chanting, and I was thinking while I was doing it, of course my mind is all over like it always is. So my question is, what is worse, to chant offensively or not to chant at all?
Well, yeah, just keep chanting. I mean, sometimes if your mind is, let's say if it's in the morning time and you're supposed to be chanting, then you have to just keep chanting. If it's at another time, sometimes you have to attend to that activity, possibly. It's just an example of like, say I'm chanting and I have to go to the bathroom. It's a physical need, right? I don't think, hey, I got to control my senses. Just focus on chanting. I put my beads down, I go to the bathroom, I come back and keep chanting. So in one, there might be a need, a mental need or something that has to be attended to. So that's up to you. You have to decide, well, what is it, a need that I have to put the beads down and do this activity so that my mind I can go back to the chanting? It might be a need like that. But in general, yeah, if it's the morning time and it's, that's when it's kind of dedicated just for chanting, then you keep chanting and you pray and keep chanting. If you have to stop for some time, it was just like, my point is, like, just like the bathroom example. Say there's something on your mind that you have to think through. Give it a moment or two. Don't be like, okay, it's like when you control horses, right? If you just hold the reins tight, the horses don't go anywhere. But controlling the horses means you tug a little on the left, you tug a little on the right, and then they go. So the same thing with the mind. Okay, the mind may have to be a devotional. It might be a necessity of your life that you think through. Okay, it's not just that you stop all thinking. Realistic. So it might be okay. And also in the beginning of when you first start the chanting, the mind's going. It's then after some mantras, it settles down. After one round, it settles down more. You can also be aware of that. Okay, my mind's going to do this for a round or two, and then I'll get in a groove. It's a personal. That's like they say, nobody, at the time of death, we all have to fly our own airplane, so to speak. We've been given so many spiritual guidelines, spiritual instructions. So in the japa session, it's in our hands, okay? It's in our mind, our determination, okay? Where to go with the mind, when to say, okay, that's it, just cut it off. That's, you could tell yourself, okay, I'll think about that later. I'm just spending time with the Mahamantra now. I will give you attention, just like a kid. You tell the kid, okay, after I do this chore, after I finish washing the dishes, we're going to go to the park. Like then the kid's excited and he can not pester you the whole time. You say, as soon as, in 10 minutes, we're going to play for the rest of the day. If it's needed, you tell your mind, okay, right now, I hear you. And I realize you're important, and I'm going to give you my full attention. But right now, I'm focusing on this Hare Krishna, and give me an hour. I'll be right back.
Thank you, Jai Gauranga Prabhu. I know you've been chanting for like 25 years. You have a lot of tips. But Tammy, you just made me remember something that Gokulananda Prabhu told me that I've found helpful, which is the first stage of chanting is offensive chanting. Nobody comes, out of the womb, maybe unless you're Dhruva Maharaj, with a super powerful mind and you're concentrating and you're chanting perfectly. So if we don't chant at all, then there's no opportunity to improve and perfect the offensive chanting. But as Jai Gauranga Prabhu mentioned, there are things that we can do to help settle the mind, because what we don't want to do is create a bad habit of, okay, every time I have this thought, let me open up my phone or something. But to realize that you're struggling is okay, because again, that's the first stage of chanting, and then we shape it from there.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Gorakh, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Gorakh Madhu, Hare Oilam Bhai Gorakh Hare Iman Oila Seshan Nam Bhojile Vishikachan